Hey, Segovia, back with another one. Make sure you guys watch from start to finish and hit that thumbs up before we get into it. Let's go.
It'll be funny. It'll be entertaining. There will be some shots fired tonight. He is ready to rumble. I will tell you, this speech tonight will be classic Donald J. Trump. It'll be funny. It'll be entertaining. There will be some shots fired tonight in the room. So everyone should tune in. It's going to be really great. I'm looking forward to hearing it.
I want to just quickly tell you, I was sitting next to Caroline Levitt, the press secretary's husband. He was one of our guests. He was seated right next to me. And, right as the dinner was starting, the national anthem happened. And then he kind of leaned over and said, I watched you on TV. You do a great job. You need to be very safe. And he was just very serious when he said that to me. And he kind of looked around the room and he said, there are some.
Sounds like we lost Aisha's phone there. And this happens, by the way, especially when you have so many people attempting to utilize the same cell service at the same time.
It's a joke.
I did want to add this while we had a moment. I was just reading.
Where's it at? Where's it at?
Look at our FBI director, y'all. That's the who runs the FBI, ducking and covering. That's crazy.
Donald Trump almost got assassinated again today, but that's not even the craziest thing that happened at the White House dinner. Erika Kirk showed up to the event with a date. Charlie Kirk hasn't even been dead for 7 months. Now, I understand everyone grieves differently, but hard launching with another guy 7 months after your husband's been assassinated is crazy. In some cultures, if your husband dies, the wife wears black for a year and she doesn't leave the house. Not Erika. She's hitting the dating scene, coming out to fireworks. It's just not normal. Honestly, poor Charlie Kirk. He's probably looking down, seeing his wife DEI hired another guy, and it hasn't even been a year. That's tough.
They keep us in a matrix of perpetuity of paying bills and having to be accountable for children and all these type of things. But what would you be? What would your senses be if you didn't have to do that?
Right. I wouldn't know, but it's kind
of... You would know. I see you outside walking barefoot. What are they doing in Africa when they want to live long?
Yeah, they
go stand in the sunlight barefoot 15 minutes a day.
Right.
That's on purpose. Because when I go over there, most people don't even wear shoes.
Did you hear about the China lawsuit?
No.
Okay. You're going to love this.
Okay.
So this guy married this woman, hot lady, and they had kids, and it was an ugly kid. And he's like, what's going on? Comes to find out she had a ton of plastic surgery.
Okay.
So he married her for her genes, and she didn't have genes. She was hot, but her genes weren't hot.
Yeah.
And he sued her.
For being ugly.
For like lying.
What happened in the suit?
China, the government, said 100% you're right. You win the lawsuit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, we've done over 2,000 episodes here, and I just turned communist. Like this is the first time. Yeah, you can dial that up. Way to go, China.
How about if we come up with a germ and we spread the germ all around San Francisco and see if people get sick? So they came up with this germ. They waited until a really foggy day when the air is very heavy and it sits on the ground. Because what's fog? It's a cloud that sits on the ground. And within days, 11 people went to hospital emergency rooms with this rare strain of upper respiratory infection. We're like, hey, now we can do that in Havana, in Moscow, in East Berlin.
Then a lot of people getting piercings, and y'all don't realize the ancient tradition of piercings. Most of the ancient tradition of piercings was to hit certain meridian pockets and pathways. Like when you get your ears pierced, if you look at the ears are upside down fetus in the placenta. So when you pierce the earlobe, you actually pierce in the third eye, which awakening your third eye. These are very spiritual traditions. Now we got people piercing, eyebrows. We got people piercing their tongues, piercing in your dimples and your back, piercing everything. And these things can mess up what you will call the photons or the electrical pathways of meridians. And meridian pathways do exist. There was a study about 20 years ago where two scientists they entered or injected what you would call technetium M99 into meridian pathways, and they was able to follow it with fluorescent light. And it was just like the ancient Africans and the Chinese said. It was mapped out just that same way. So the meridian pathways do exist. These meridian pathways are connected to circuit breakers that we call T, and they're connected to each organ inside of the body. So if you don't know the science and the knowledge, and then you start getting all of these piercings.
We're the only industrialized nation in the world that doesn't provide health care for our citizens. But we do, actually. If you go to the emergency room, how much more expensive is it to go to the emergency room than to see the doctor in his office? 75 to 80% more expensive. Now, if my Roosevelt High School math is correct, that means we would what? Save money?
Now, let me tell you guys, I'm still getting bills from this doctor. I mean, from this birth, right? So we went to the OBGYN. One of the last times they said, okay, your payment is going to be like, let's just say 2,500, right? It's going to cover everything. You know, this isn't the exact amount, but it's around this, right? It's going to cover, you know, anything to do with birth related, you know, blood work, you know, x-ray, whatever, right? Anything outside of birth, you know, that you got to pay, right? I'm like, okay, cool. I'll pay that right now. I got it. I'll pay it. Cool. Birth is paid for. We're good to go, right? Day of the birth, I get a call. We need 5,000 from you, right? 5,000. Well, I'm like, okay, you know, I had it, but I'm just saying, let me do a little payment plan, right? Well, if you do a payment plan, you're going to have to pay more. Damn. All right, here's 5,000. All right. Now we just got a bill for another 2,500. So I'm like, what's going on here? This is just a one giant scam. They tell us one thing, and then, you know, more and more. They just want. It's such a trip, y'all. This medical finance, all this stuff, insurance. It's just one giant scam.
On December 13th, 2025, a mass shooter at Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island, Claudio Manuel Neves Valente entered the Barras and Holly building and killed 2 students and wounded 9 other students who were attending a review session, and then fled the scene before police arrived. 2 days later, on December 15th, Nuno Loureiro, an MIT physics professor and former classmate of Valente, was fatally shot at his home in Brookline, Massachusetts. But they also recovered videos, I believe at the storage unit, where he admitted on video to having planned out these for a long time, and what the government said is that there was no motive. He was a classmate of this very prominent MIT physicist who was working on plasma mechanics and high-level physicist shit. No motive, admits on video, cleans it up, goes to a storage unit himself, government gets to say case closed. We don't talk about it again. My mind goes a little MK Ultra on that.
You could get counseling, which helps a little bit, but you never get all this stuff out. And all these young kids that came home from Vietnam, they've got it. And I know you've all heard of Agent Orange. Well, we didn't know nothing about Agent Orange. We'd see places where the foliage was dead, but we didn't know. So we slept in it because we were all over. We'd go through streams and our water in our canteens was warm. So we dumped some out, we scooped them in the river.
Damn. Now, I don't think the soldiers knew what Agent Orange was, but the guy that said, dump this here, he knew what Agent Orange was.
Now, we had pills to take all the other stuff, but there was nothing for Agent Orange. And so we slept in it, we drank it. It's in all of us.
I mean, I think she kind of looks like Beyonce and Jay-Z mixed. I'm not going to reach. What do you guys think?
There's like a sun inside the earth that lights everything. So they have light, they have lakes, they have water, they have everything they need. And there's animals down there that do not exist on the surface of the earth. They have live computers, if you want to say that. This is in my second volume of the Convoluted Universe. It talks about the underground cities. They have computers that we can't even approach that can create and do anything they want. And the people are so advanced, they have no desire to come to the surface. They have everything they need down there. They've been down there for thousands and thousands of years. And they're much more advanced than we are because there's no wars, there's no violence.
We have the sickest young generation in the world's history. 58% of teenage girls report being persistently sad. 32% have thought of killing themselves. 24% have planned to kill themselves.
I see it,
13% have tried to kill themselves. The CDC study. We have the sickest generation in history because we've unleashed cell phones, social media, and I think AI is much more dangerous.
I see it. I see it close to me. I see it out. I see it, you hear stories like, because they are so engulfed in social media, in their phones. Like, I remember when I was young on MySpace, like that bothered me, right? That bothered the beginning, right? When I wasn't in anyone's top 8, right? That affects you when you're young. You don't know no better, right? I was 16, 17. I see my friend on the top 8. I don't see, right? Little things like that affects you, like mentally, like makes you feel bad about yourself. But now it's just at a whole nother level now. Now is a whole nother level. Now they're seeing celebrities doing these things and they're looking at themselves like, man, I don't got nothing, right? When you're not supposed to at 16, 17, 18, you're supposed to be, just having fun and going out after school, but now like I can only imagine how bad social media makes these kids feel mentally, spiritually, physically about themselves. Like I can only imagine now. I know we got a lot of older people that watch this that don't know what social media, right? I was around at the beginning at MySpace, right? That's when I was in high school. MySpace was big. We were still on flip phones and all that, but MySpace, when we came home, we got on MySpace, right? And I know all you older boomers, right, are going to say, man, we went outside and played and all that. I had that life too, right? But I had that life of being outside and playing, so I experienced that. And then I got my life where I experienced, social media. I got, the 90s kids got a little bit of both, but, now these younger kids, these Gen Zers now, they're just social media from 5 years old and on.
Hello Kitty, one of the highest grossing franchises of all time. Yeah. Hello Kitty, Hello Kitty? Why? What's so special about this cat? Oh, does anyone know?
The brand image.
Brand image. Any in specifics or like anything come to mind about what about the brand image of Hello Kitty is so special? What makes this cat so special?
The bow?
Close. The cat doesn't have a mouth.
Oh yeah.
The cat is universally understood as the character.
Half of every woman in the world, can you please ask her how she still looks so good?
What? Red light. That and the blood of a 19-year-old. Basically.
You heard what Charlize Theron said, didn't you? How she looks young.
We saw Diddy, right?
Again, she said it. I didn't say it. She did. But I'm sure that she is just joking around, right? Right? And she just naturally looks younger than what she is, right? Again, she said it, not me. This video is for entertainment purposes only. You heard what she said. I'm sure that she was just joking around. And this was her in 2000. This is her in 2025.
Better now.
Obviously, now it's 2026. She probably was just joking around. It's probably the red light
like my
that
women
is
a little
helping
older,
her
y'all.
to appear younger than what she is, right? I'm sure that that's all that it is. Because again, she's probably just joking around about the other thing. What do you think? Wake up.
The mountains of Mpumalanga and many parts of South Africa are covered in the fossilized body parts
of creatures, humanoids, reptilians, and giants. And these are not just giants, they're different sizes of giants. And again, I can verify that because in my museum, I have fossilized body parts of giants that are about 80 to 100 meters tall. Why do all
Wait, bro, which museum is this? I want to go to that museum. Which one is this one?
Cash Patel. Nobody thinks it's weird that guy lives with a dude because he don't live with his hot girlfriend at all. He lives with a man named Muldoon, a rich donor in Vegas. He got some FBI rule change so he can live with a guy. That's why he has to fly out on a private jet. And if you watch him on Steve Miller's wife's podcast, you could tell they look like her gay best friend. If that's your not a spy girlfriend, you're telling me you're going to go live with an old guy in Vegas.
If you look at the hexagon storm at the North Pole of Saturn, which appears to be permanent ever since the Voyager craft arrived in the early 2000s. It's always been there ever since. How do you have a hexagon storm? How do you have a storm that goes round at angles to produce a blatant hexagon? Well, how do you do it? You do it with sound. It's all to do with sound. The rings are generating sound. If you go on the internet, you can find video platforms, the sound that Saturn is giving off.
Creepy.
It's freaking creepy when you hear it.
How do they know, though? How do they know?
And it's that whole frequency sound environment that I say creates the bizarre hexagon storm at the North Pole and is generating frequencies across the solar system. But if you look deeper into this, this reality is so not like we are led to believe it is.
How do they know that's what Saturn sounds like?
Ian Carroll, Candace Owens, Nick, so many more people. Why are all these creators or these people going MIA randomly and barely even telling people that, hey, we're canceling the show for the week? Even more so, why are some of them going to the same exact location? That 2 or more at least are going to Italy. This is really weird. It's really weird because this happens right after David Wilcock allegedly unalives himself, right? As well as a whole bunch of UFOologists and a whole bunch of nuclear scientists. And it keeps happening every single day. Yesterday, we had 2 more pass away. So the question is, did they get the memo of something that maybe is about to happen? Now, this is a bit scary, but there is legislation in the United States where they can basically throw you in a prison without a trial. This was one of the things that came out of September 2001. Also reminds me of John Kirk, who was this ex-CIA officer who was prisoned because he was... Never mind, let's just take a step back from that story. And we have Ian Carroll putting up things like, I would never do anything to myself. It seems like there's going to be a massive escalation on the ground in the United States dealing with a certain class of people, a certain occupation of people that look for certain things in hidden things. I'm happy, I'm healthy, I can swim, I would never do anything. Part 2 coming tonight.
Yeah, why am I watching Jeepers Creepers and I'm just now paying attention of the billboard that's on this scene right here? Like, I always pay attention to the creeper eating that human man that he was eating the policeman, but I never pay attention to the billboard where it says tastes so darn good and there's a man there grilling the meat while the creeper is eating the human person, basically insinuating that, bitch, you eat human meat. Like, look at this. Like, look at that, man.
Bro, it's a maintenance thing. We lab tested the grass at a few different golf courses. They are littered with pesticides. Yeah, but they fuck up your health, bro.
Alright, well, like touching the grass?
Pesticide exposure is not good. There's a 124% increase in Parkinson's for people that live within a mile of a golf course. It isn't good.
Pentagon or the Trump administration, they said, hey, Pope Leo, do you remember the Avion Papacy? Well, apparently in the 1300s, Pope Boniface VIII basically said, I have supremacy over all kings. But the King of France, Philip IV, is like, no, I have authority over you, Pope. Pope's like, no, you don't. I represent God. The King of France sent his boys to the Pope and publicly beat him up. What? At the Vatican.
They beat up the Pope?
Resulting in the next week, the Pope dying.
Whoa. They killed the Pope.
History says they didn't kill him. Everyone suspects that he had like bleeding on the brain and stuff.
Wow.
And the King of France moves from the Vatican to France as the new capital of Catholicism. For the next 70 years, it's always a French Pope.
Crazy.
So they're basically like, hey, remember when this happened?
Oh, man.
Be careful.
Now I was watching some Pope stuff, not Pope stuff, but just seeing they were it was during the Trump and Pope thing, and they were just showing clips of the Pope and whatnot. And I was just thinking, like, this guy must not have a lot of faith because he's riding around when he's amongst the people in a bulletproof car. He's got agents all around him when he's walking around with God knows what under their suits. Now, I know he's a major figure, right? That, might have. I mean, who's going to do something to the Pope, right? So I don't think it's ever happened like, other than this beating up the Pope, right? Has there ever been a Pope that's been. I don't think so, y'all. But I was just thinking, like, man, this guy doesn't really have a lot of faith, right? He puts out nothing but positive energy. Like, I see all these rappers that got security around them and all this, but they put out a lot of negative energy. That's why negativity finds them. Like, this guy puts out so much positive energy. He's like the closest thing to God, apparently, right? But he walks around with more security than the president. Isn't that weird, or am I overreacting?
Let me interject something. Right before we started filming, I think Steven sent you some images, right?
Actually, I had the images.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that he was okay with
them.
me sharing, because there's some ramifications to putting this out.
We're going to overlay these, but what's freaky is their faces, like a bunch of faces in that video, little faces.
Like Mario World,
Steven
Mario
seems
3,
to think that
and the
there
castles.
are either interdimensional portals opening and closing, because you can see dozens and dozens of freaky alien-looking faces, disembodied, just heads and faces, throughout the video.
Sunlight reduces the size of internal cancerous tumors.
I thought sun causes cancer.
Well,
everybody
actually,
says stay out of the sun because it causes cancer.
That's right. They did a study
why.
at Baylor University where they took two groups of experimental animals. They gave one the standard American diet, which is terrible. They gave the other one a highly nutritious diet. Then they exposed both groups of animals to the ultraviolet rays of the sun. In the group on the standard American diet, 25% got skin cancer. In the group on the highly nutritious diet, not one animal got skin cancer. It's the way we're eating. Skin cancer is a relatively new phenomenon in the last 60 years or so, and yet our ancestors for hundreds of years have been living outdoors, working outdoors, and they didn't get skin cancer. It's a new phenomenon.
It's eating, y'all, everything. Like, since I moved to Texas, I have been terrible, and I've been feeling terrible. It's all anyone that's stuck out there in life and doesn't know why can't I get my life together? Why is everything I'm doing? Start with eating, y'all. That's it. Don't worry about going out and walking. Don't worry about exercising. Don't worry about, watching less TV. Don't worry about, don't worry about nothing. Diet. Figure that out. And with that, everything else is going to start happening naturally. You're going to start not watching TV as much. You're going to start going outside and walking more. You're going to start reading more. You're going to start treating people around you better. Once you start, to me, eating is eating a clean, nutritious food, which I'm trying to do. I'm not sitting here saying, all this. I'm saying I speak from experience, y'all. When you do this one thing, that's the tip of the eye. Everything else just falls perfectly in place, y'all. All your little disciplines, everyone's are different. All your little things start doing better. Starts with eating. That's my opinion. If you are wondering, why is my money so low? Why can't I get ahead? Why is it? Start with eating. You start changing that, I'm telling you. It's all eating. Everything. Real quick. And why do you think, I can go on and on about eating. And why do you think there's fast foods everywhere? Everything in the grocery store. They tell you need to eat 2,000 calories a day. They tell you all these things. Everywhere you go, there's roadblocks, right? Everywhere you go, every restaurant, every gas station, every grocery store, every corner there's fast food. It's cheap, it's easy, it's easily accessible. It's cheaper to eat that way than eat a clean meal. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? Think about it. Go drive down the street and count within a mile how many places are there where there is food that makes you a terrible version of yourself. And that'll make you start thinking like, damn, maybe if I start eating clean, all these little things that bother me throughout the day will go away. I need to practice what I
glasses
preach.
that are red on one side and blue on the other, and you get them in movie theaters. He cut them up so that the lenses were separate, and he stapled them together, and he taped it on top of his lens for his iPhone. And what that did, I'm not sure he understood how that was happening, what was going on, but he somehow knew to do that. I don't know how he knew to do that without knowing what he was doing, but he taped them on top of the lens. The red lets in infrared. The red and the blue together blocks out almost all visible light. And so the light that can get through is going to be the infrared stuff. There's not much ultraviolet light in the atmosphere, so it's really mostly infrared. And so what happens is the phone gears up its automatic gain control to try to get any light as what at all. But there is no visible light that's coming in because of the red and the blue together. So what he ends up getting is mostly the ultraviolet, mostly the infrared. Mm-hmm. And he started taking videos with his iPhone with this makeshift thing of the Washington D.C. area, and he started to get a whole bunch of UFOs. Interesting configurations, different shapes and everything. So the Washington D.C. area was like filled with them, and these were things on demand, any 10-minute period that he would do it. He came to us with Excel spreadsheets, which had aeronautical data, all types of everything, the analysis of it, how you analyze distance, speed, size, everything. And then he came to us with recommendations for things he didn't even have. He said, what you need is a GH6 camera. He didn't even have one, but he knew we needed a GH6. And he knew that we needed to send it to a specific company called lifepixel.com, to have it converted. Now, there are other places that do conversion. What they do is they take the sensor, and the sensor of all cameras has a glass filter on top of it that blocks out infrared and ultraviolet because you don't want that in your images. However, that glass filter on top of the sensor has to be removed. Once you take the filter off of the sensor, you have to put another filter on top of the lens. He knew all about that. He didn't have any of that, but he knew all about that. And to tune into the bandwidth that you want in the electromagnetic spectrum to get the exact infrared spectrum part that you want. And so and then he showed us a lot of videos on our big screen in our own office, standing up with a laser pointer and everything, showing the videos of these UFOs that were very clearly UFOs. Mm-hmm. And then he also talked about the frame rate issue because they go so fast. But the thing about the GH6, why it was unusual, is you have to shoot wide angle because you can't see these things. They're invisible, both because of some stealth technology that you can see them only in infrared, and secondly, they're going 20,000 miles an hour. So it could be the size of the Titanic. You're not going to see it if it's 20,000 miles an hour. So we shot it at 120 frames a second. It was like, this is one of those experiences you have only once or twice in your whole life. You do something first time out, and like, it's right in front of you. In 10 minutes, we had like 30, 40 UFOs right over my house, and some of them are huge. And they were swooping down like Star Wars, like Star Wars TIE fighters.
Disinherit the true heirs of the empire.
Trillions?
Yes, trillions in ancient trusts belong to black people. It is a whitewashed narrative to disinherit the true heirs of the empire.
Your Highness, are you saying the original nobles were black people?
The real nobility, the original European royalty, were Moors. They've hidden this history to maintain control over trillions of dollars. These Moors were present on both sides of the Atlantic, ruling from old America to the courts of Europe.
Is it possible to visit a real-life mafia neighborhood in New York City? That's what we're going to try and do today. And I'm not talking about the fake tourist traps in Manhattan's Little Italy. I'm talking about the real thing,
Brooklyn,
here in the Bronx. We are currently at Arthur Avenue. I'm going to see what we can find. So it's currently 8:30 in the morning, and if you can hear that siren that's about to approach me anytime now, that's the 4th siren I've heard in the last 10 minutes.
Damn. Sorry for the ears.
It's a 3rd ambulance, and I've heard 1 fire department. It's probably not the best start, but here we are. So, Arthur Avenue is called the real Little Italy, and it's probably for good reason, considering it's been home to Italian American families for over a century, and it's way less touristy than what you'd find in downtown Manhattan.
Europe, check it out, family. 2026, the veil is gone. keep saying that. I really believe giants walked around this motherfucker, because how you explain that? And this ain't AI. This location is in South Dakota. And the name of this mountain is called Horse Mountain. Do y'all research. Sometimes y'all need to do y'all own fucking research. But anyway, y'all let me know how y'all feel in the comment on Phonograve. Shit is crazy.
Things you didn't know about the El Paso Walmart tragedy. Number one, he drove over 600 miles to get to El Paso because it had a large Hispanic community, which he didn't like. After sitting in the parking lot of the Walmart for a few minutes, he posts on social media his manifesto on why he's going to do this, which is mainly because he feels like Hispanics are taking over America. After posting that to social media, he pops the trunk of his car, grabs an AK, and almost immediately starts shooting at people in the parking lot.
I used to pick up at that Walmart. I did Spark.
One of the victims, Maria, was putting away her groceries in her car when she was struck in the head and pretty much died instantly. And there was a couple tents set up out front of the Walmart for a fundraiser for a local soccer team, and a couple of the coaches ended up getting hit as well. And this is one of them, but he ended up surviving right here, but he had been struck 2 or 3 times. Unfortunately, his dad had just pulled up to buy a cup of the lemonade to support them, and he ended up getting fatally shot. Another one of the coaches that was there was also hit a couple times, and unfortunately he ended up passing away shortly after. So as he continued to shoot through the parking lot, he made his way into the store.
Couldn't imagine, man. You gotta be on point.
One older guy saw him coming at the entrance and made a run for it into the store, but didn't make it very far, unfortunately. He's so casual about the whole thing, walks into the Walmart, shoots him, and then continues on towards the registers and the bank up front. The customers start running to the back of the store, and one of the cashiers comes on the intercom and says that there's an active shooter. So he starts firing over towards the cashiers, striking one of them, and there was a couple that was checking out. And luckily, the wife had walked over to the McDonald's inside the Walmart because she wanted to see if they had a Lion King toy that she was collecting. But her husband was still checking out, and he ended up getting hit fatally. Had she not walked over to the McDonald's, she probably would have been hit as well. Then he made his way towards First Convenience Bank inside Walmart. And there was 9 people inside there, but there was a manager at the bank who was working, heard the gunshots, and then ran to the back room and closed the door, and people were trying to knock to say let us in, but he didn't let them in. So by the time Patrick made it to the entrance of the bank, it was already too late for those 9 people, and his first victim was a 15-year-old. The 15-year-old's uncle was also in the bank, Octavio, and he was shot in the foot but survived, but he remembered having a split-second decision on whether he should take his nephew and run to the back or to stay in place, and he chose to stay in place, but unfortunately, now he thinks that they should have ran to the back. But because the manager didn't open up the door, 9 people end up dying inside that bank. And we're going to pick this up in part 2.
You know, now out here, because that's where I'm at, right? I don't really. They at each Walmart, neighborhood Walmart, big Walmart, there's a cop. There's an armed cop at the entrance at every Walmart out here. Now I don't know if that's how it is now, like out in Arizona. I know in Arizona they had like unarmed security. Right here, they have unarmed security and an armed cop at every Walmart. Every Walmart, the little neighborhood Walmart and the big supercenter Walmarts. Is it like that? We're at Targets, big stores like that. There's an armed police officer there from open to close. Take different shifts, right? Do you guys have that at your Walmarts, or is that just because there was that big mass event that happened out here? That's why there's a police. Because I don't remember there being that in Arizona, right? I remember unarmed security. That drive around the parking lot and sit in the front, but there's an armed officer at all these Walmarts, Targets, any big store like that.
This year's selection of nominees in the Best Actress category.
Do you want this? Yes. What would you give up for it? Anything.
That's the truth, y'all. That's what they say.
Congratulations.
Anna Victoria Alcott, the author.
Thank you.
I saw this breakdown on another profile. I'll link it below. And it's been sitting with me. Because at this point, they aren't even hiding the script. The official story is that the Oscar is just a knight standing on a film reel But when you put it next to the statue of Sokar, the Egyptian god of the underworld, the resemblance is wild. But here's the part where it actually gets dark. In ancient history, Sokar wasn't just a god. He was linked to sacrifice. In the show, they're showing you a woman trading her own child for the little gold man, which is the title of the episode. Makes you wonder if they're using the same idol and dialogue about giving up anything, or are they just telling us a scary story?
Did we just catch a...
His name's Sokar? Oscar, Sokar? No.
That is an insane video.
I know. I think they might have got them a hag.
I think
on camera.
I think somebody caught their sleep paralysis demon crawling on top of them. And it has a very clear hand that puts itself on top of the person's leg. I would evaporate in that moment. Truly. I would
not evaporate.
I would become I would transform from a solid to a gas in an instant.
I see a winged thing. This is an incubus or a succubus.
Oh, you don't think it's a hag? Ooh.
I think this is a classic incubus. And mind you, incubus and succubus, same story as the hag. Sits on your chest, sleep paralysis, all that stuff.
Yeah.
However, in most cases of the hag, they do not leave marks.
Right. That's a good point. That is a very good point.
They just exhaust you.
Mm-hmm.
They don't scratch you. Succubi are known to scratch and bite.
That is true.
Why? I was, I brought up on here not too long ago about, things would happen at this house, right? And I would hear my dad run down the hallway, and it hit me while I was right here. I was like, was that even my dad, or was that just hearing things in the hallway running by? And I asked my mom, I brought it up to her the other day, and I was asking, hey, did dad at this house, used to hear, maybe you're asleep and you hear the door open, right? The front door, you just think you hear it, and he runs down the hallway to see what's going on, or she's like, no. I was like, damn, that house. And then she told me, your dad used to have kind of sleep paralysis. He wouldn't be able to move. And I remember she would tell me, we'd go to the cemetery every once in a while to see my grandma and my grandpa, my dad's mom. And she told me a long time ago that he would see her come in the room and go next to the bed. And she would tell me that was his sign. She was telling him it's time to come see me, and we'd make a thing of it. We'd go have dinner at Garcia's, 35th Avenue in Thomas. Anybody that's out there in Arizona, that was our spot growing up. We'd go to Garcia's, and then we'd go, to the cemetery, clean it. He'd take things to clean it, peel the grass, whatever. And, but, it hit me right there with you guys. Was that even him running down the hallway? Because it would happen every once in a while. And then she told me he would have those, sleep paralysis moments where he couldn't move. And then when we moved out of the house, it never happened again.
Not surprised that the suspect responsible for shooting the Secret Service member at the White House Correspondents' Dinner is let alone a teacher, but also from the bluest state in the country, California. The suspect, who has been identified as Cole Allen, is a teacher who voted for Kamala Harris. I mean, we're over here thinking that it was just the nurses on that side that were off the rails. But now the teachers, a teacher from Torrance, California, is able to get close enough to the president that decides to open fire, injuring one Secret Service member who thankfully had his Kevlar vest and is currently doing well in recovery. And I know this seems like the problem is solved, that the suspect has been captured and is currently in custody. That is a small fix to the actual major root problem that this country has, which is continually advocating for violence against the Trump administration and specifically Donald Trump himself.
No, it's those people that are sitting in that room that are causing all this division and hatred towards both parties. But my thing is, who gives a damn about these rich elites? I don't give a damn, right? They ain't never changed anything in my life, right? My thing is, that guy went to that extent to do that because he had so much hatred for the other side in his heart and his blood. If it was real or not, who knows? Was it a publicity stunt like the first one when he got in the air? But my thing is, what was he teaching those kids in those classrooms? If he had enough of that hate and in his heart for that specific side of the team, what was he telling these young ones? Can you imagine what he was preaching and teaching in that class? If he had that much, these politics, CNN, MSNBC brainwashed you so much that you're going to go and try to off somebody that you don't even know who he is. You don't even know, you never met the guy, nothing, right? You're just listening to what somebody's saying, brainwashed you so much. What was he teaching those young ones in that classroom? If he went to that extent over some nonsense, at the end of the day, if they hate you, they hate you. Ain't nothing you can do about it. They're going to go to war. They're going to go to war. They're going to stop this. They're going to stop that. If they're going to ban you from a bathroom, you're going to ban you. Ain't nothing you can do about it. But he had enough hatred to go. What was he teaching those young ones in that classroom? Slow ass. You would have got caught. You would have got caught.
Mexico, it is what they say in the movies, but it's worse. They don't show the reality, because if they show the reality, I'll tell you an example. Just 2 weeks ago in my hometown, they found a location where the cartel hid bodies, and they say the real count is 5,000 bodies, but they said on the news they put only 300 bodies, 300 to 500 bodies.
See, they all lie to us, Joe.
And that's, disappearings, people, kids, adults, everybody. Just the cartel use them for target practice or torture or stuff like that, or kidnapping. I grew up with that violence around me. I was blessed enough that I had a mom and a dad that were very strict on me. My mom, when you're a kid, you hate that, Yeah. I hated my mom because she would never let me go out to the play with the kids, never go out on the street with the kids. But obviously there was a reason, she sheltered me a lot in a way of that. So I cannot tell you I grew up around that kind of kids, but you see it from, I saw it from my window, all the kids from my neighborhood, some of them are missing, some of them are in jail, and you grew up with that. It was hard, man. It was really, really hard.
There is a theory.
It's so crazy that I didn't go down that road, right? The road of drugs. Like, I had a lot of people I grew up with, y'all, that got into the drugs, went to prison, are not here no more because of drugs, right? One of my best friends growing up, but I didn't fit in with them, right? But in school, he went this way in school, hung out with these kids. Outside of school, he hung out with me, whatever, but it's, I don't know if just my parents instilled good things in me that I didn't, but I just didn't go that way. I don't know. It's weird to explain. When you're older, you can look back at it, but I never went. I was in the room with the drugs, sniffing and doing these things. I just never, I don't know. I just never got intrigued with it. I don't know what it was. Not even get intrigued with it. I just didn't even have the thought to try it. And they would have let me, like, hey, let me try some of that, right? But I don't know. But my friend, like, I don't really talk to him no more, but he would tell me, like now that I'm older and I reconnect, like, man, you were always different. You always had a different type of mind. You always thought differently than us. One of my other friends that's not here no more, told me, like, I would love going to your house because your mom would, treat me like one of you guys. She would feed me, and and those are things I just didn't notice that they noticed that was a big thing to them. And I just never went that route, but I was around it. I just never went that route. I don't know.
Full body realistic skin suits exist, and that people and other beings are wearing them to disguise themselves for one reason or another. Now, I think a really good example is the skin-toned sleeves and gloves that you typically see someone like my girl Dolly Parton wearing, and absolutely love Dolly Parton. So none of this is any shade to her whatsoever. Matter of fact, she looks fabulous, and she's an absolute legend. However, if you've noticed, we only ever see her like when she's wearing her skin-colored sleeves and gloves covering the majority of her hands. Sometimes I've seen that she'll wear the suit, looks like the suit all the way up to her chest. And in this picture, you can see that she's dressed in a Dallas Cowboy cheerleading outfit, and she's basically wearing a full-bodied, skin-colored suit to cover her own skin. Now, it also looks like Christina Aguilera wears something very similar as well. If you look closely in this video, you can see that she has skin-colored sleeves on while she's performing, or it definitely looks like it. It doesn't look like she's ever addressed this directly, but most people believe that it's probably because she's lost a bit of weight over the years and she may be dealing with some loose skin because of that. And I feel her. I got loose skin myself. I totally get it. And when you're in the spotlight, you probably just want to go up there and perform and not worry about things, you know. If you know, you know. Dolly has confirmed that she has a few tattoos that she keeps private, and she has said that she got these tattoos to cover up scars from previous surgeries. She said that her scars have a tendency to have like a dark purple color to them, and so she got pastel colored tattoos to blend them in. But she also said that she kind of prefers to keep her arms covered for a more polished look. Dolly has also talked about how she looks completely different when she's at home. Dolly has said that the blonde hair that we see is not actually her real hair, it's a wig. She has tons of wigs. She was asked one time how many wigs she has, and she says she has one for every day of the year. Dolly's talked about how her natural hair is more of like a dishwater sandy blonde, and that she just prefers how easy wigs are, and she don't have to really style it and do all that stuff for public appearances. It's even been said that sometimes Dolly leaves the house without her skin suit, her wig, her makeup, her nails, and all the other things, and no one hardly ever recognizes her because of it. She's like a totally different person. So you can't really blame Dolly for sure. She's 80 years old. She's gonna wear everything she needs to wear to be comfortable and feel good in the public eye. I mean, there's a lot of people online that's been talking about Kris Jenner, who recently just got a new or another facelift. Now, I think she looks great, honey, but a lot of people online, she's not wearing these skin-colored gloves that
now starts getting a little weird in 88, but I think that's just age. That's 91, that's just age. Just age. Now, things start getting weird. Now it gets crazy. Look at the chin. Something's going nutty. Now the cheeks. Look, he's trying to avoid the wrinkles, so he's turning his face into a balloon. I guess it's just body dysmorphia. Now 2010, but it gets real crazy. Now he's done his lips. 2013, it starts getting real crazy. Look at that. 2015. Now it's just nuts.
I wouldn't go on camera no more.
Attacked by a
And a
swarm of
wig.
bees.
That's got to be a wig or something.
Something. Look at that. I mean,
no shit,
Jesus
it's a
Christ.
wig. If his face looks like
the
that,
head keeps getting bigger. Look at 2019. That's just
no, duh, that's a wig. Like, you think he's gonna have normal hair if his face looks like that? You think that's a wig?
Absolutely insane.
Why aren't you telling all your cardiologists to study how magnesium prevents heart attacks and strokes? Why aren't you doing that? Why aren't you educating people that salt is required to keep your blood pressure normal? In Britain, in 2016, we're publishing a research study on salt that the higher your salt goes up, it has been found in 50 countries. The more salt you eat, the lower your blood pressure comes and lower the risk for heart attacks and strokes. And when they published that study after a 20-year, it was a 450,000 people in 49 countries, largest study ever looking at salt consumption and heart disease risk factors. They found that those people that consume 3 and 4 times the amount the FDA recommends have the best heart outcomes. And when they published that, the American Heart Association threatened them and said, you better retract that study or we're pulling all of our funding to the Lancet. And you can still go read the retraction letter right now.
Now, I feel like he's missing an important step with that. We're doing a lot of talking today, y'all. I think he's missing an important step with that. Maybe more sodium, because I believe they recommend like 2,500 milligrams, but not sodium in the terms of, going out to eat Big Mac and fries, sodium from that. I think they mean sodium from like fresh, real salt. You know what I mean? And a real healthy diet, where you're not mixing carbs and fat. That's your diet, maybe, and a little bit of protein. That's where you're going to run into the heart disease and all that.
Really? Why the Bible said don't
for the
wear
rest of the
wool
video.
and linen together.
Oh, shit.
Don't wear your wool and linen together. If you're going to wear wool or linen and you want another fabric with it, just put cotton with it.
Huh.
Cotton, linen, and wool are the highest frequency fabrics. And anything synthetic or with polyester in it, you start going towards the frequency of a dead body. They did a study looking at frequency. I think it was looking at millihertz. And they looked at the frequency of fabric and how that affects the human when we wear them. And they found that a human body that is dying carries a frequency around 15 hertz. A living human's around 70. And they looked at the frequency of fabrics and they found that linen and wool, 5,000. Cotton, 70. Organic cotton, 100. Polyester, rayon, silk, 15. millihertz.
So you want a high frequency.
You want a high frequency. So the idea is that polyester rayon, which is this natural fiber made into a fabric, it's not plastic. Rayon's not. And obviously chemicals matter because organic cotton and cotton come in at different frequencies. Of note, don't go putting linen and wool together. Linen and wool go at opposite frequencies, and so they're both at 5,000. If you put them together, they cancel each other out.
Okay, you're telling me that ain't making all these fucking clouds? You tell me that right there. That's not making all these clouds that I'm seeing right here.
Watch this. Booze makes you feel good. Heroin makes you feel good. Otherwise, popes and presidents wouldn't be strung out on pain pills like they have. I can't point my finger to which ones, but Kennedy certainly had his problems with back pain. And there's a thing about those drugs that make you feel good. However, after a while, it steals you like a crook. It will take your... It will just...
know,
there was
right?
a point where I couldn't remember my name.
He would know.
I just got so high. I was shooting coke. We were smoking... It wasn't crack. You made your own base back then. But we got so high because we had so much money. Call it what it is.
People that smoke crack always say it wasn't crack. They get mad if you say, you know, I had somebody in a family member. My mom would say, you know, if you say he smokes crack, they get mad. It's cocaine, right? It's not crack.
That I lost
That's
my
old school.
capabilities of putting one and one together. I remember being with Rick Rubin once, and this was before the Walk This Way thing, and trying to write a song, and the lyrics were something about, I mean, it was just dildonic.
Middle of the Andes between Argentina and Chile, just found a huge feather, size of my face. But hold on.
Damn.
Holy
That's a
shit.
pterodactyl.
The end of it is the size of my fucking finger. Imagine a Native American with this in his hair. All right, see the full story. Holy cow. Really, it's a cow. And there is a hole in it. Kind of figured it was a condor. Interesting view. I guess the cow ate grass for its last meal. Well, that's quite a meal for a condor.
It's bullshit. Okay, placentas on the open market, our government, there's like contracts and stuff in place where they have a right to the woman's placenta post-birth. There are teams of people that come in post-birth to gather it up and sell it, those stem cells, on the open market. And mind you, I was in a field that worked with stem cells, and I had to, you know, I believe in them, but I think there's a better fucking process. That's the woman's body. That's hers. That's
and then once you learn that like your shit is still connected to you even when it's not connected to you anymore.
Yeah,
it can get manipulated from another location.
And it's always going to be money. It's always going to be money.
Oh, of course.
So, they have two shows, according to Jim with Belushi and George Lopez, and that's the exact same show, except one brown family and one white family. The exact same show. There's even a fat funny friend that Jim has that George has. It's the exact freaking show. The company owns Belushi. They don't own George Lopez. Warner Brothers owns George Lopez, or whomever else owns George Lopez, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and both of those shows were syndicated at the same time. So the money you're going to be getting from this show and from, you know, what show do you want more of? I want more of Belushi so that I can get more money because it's syndicated. Right? And so there goes. Point. Yeah, I got to choose one of these two, and it comes to a business
George
decision.
Lopez
What's
was
this?
dope.
Oh, this was more full, and I'm going to get more out of this. All right, I'll just throw this one away.
Despite the fact that George Lopez was the first Latino syndicated show.
Oh yeah,
and they still didn't.
Despite
that, which big shout out to you guys.
No,
that's huge.
Despite that, because check it out, brother. But this is where I say we got to get more on TV, because TV's going well, but we need more. We need more. When George first came on the air, it was just us, I believe. And then the next year, there was Brothers Garcia, and then the next year was Brothers Garcia and Resurrection Boulevard, and then it was Greetings from Tucson. It was George Lopez, Greetings from Tucson, Brothers Garcia. You know, by our 6th year, all of those other shows were already gone, and we were the only one left, right? Jane the Virgin, I think, came on a little bit after that, and then, but it's like network just forgets, you know. And now, okay, George has got his other one with Maya, right? Lopez versus Lopez. We got that one, but we need more. We need more. And the Latino culture, the Chicano culture,
funny,
the
y'all.
Mexican American
Funny
culture, the Hispanic, the whatever the
good,
fuck you want
good
to call us,
TV.
the state culture. If we got one thing, is we got music and we got laughter.
Yeah, we're funny, y'all.
And that's what it slides in the sitcom.
The way we talk
so well.
and
It just slides in the sitcom.
Yeah,
So we're
it's good
big, we're
TV.
loud, we're emotional. We throw tantrums, we fall in love, we fight hard, we cry when we get tequila up, and we cry about music, and it's perfect. It's like reality, but real reality. You don't have to put anything on us. We just need the scripts. We need the scripts. We need the people to get to do this.
How do you think we get more opportunities in Hollywood?
We need to create. We need to write. That's where the key lies. That's where the diamond is. That's the diamond. The script, the book, the music, the painting, the whatever.
So they were basically working almost 24/7. They lived somewhere in the hotel, so right in the apartment.
Yeah.
So they were exhausted, right? Why the dancing?
Oh, I was just going to tell you that's mocking us. The dancing nurses. That's making fun of us again. Oh, it's a disease. Everyone's dying. All these people. My wife is a nurse. She's a registered nurse. During that time, she had more days off than ever. Don't come in. There's nobody here. Don't come in. You're fine. Don't come in. And then
she's literally a nurse.
Registered nurse.
She was a nurse in 2020,
She's been a nurse for
2024 period.
20 years. Yeah.
Walmart's now adding barricades in their stores. Look at this.
What the hell am I beholding? Do you see this, America? Or, I mean, actually Europe, if you're not in America.
Interesting. You got Kroger doing it too. Look at this.
Kroger, and that is a barricade on that end. And when you turn this way, that is also a barricade. And so,
So it's
wow,
like
this is crazy. So
like
you
the
come
bathing
in,
area.
There's a door there to enter.
Shampoo
and
and
this
stuff.
entire health. Wellness section.
They kind of got that at Walmart out
barricaded
here.
off within the store. That is so wild to me.
What's up with?
They kind of have that at the Walmart out here, like where the makeup and the men shaving and all that it's barricaded, but it's not enclosed, right? It's one way in, one way out, right? You can't go down each aisle. You have to go in one way, then around and that way. And if you want to come out, you got to come out like that, right?
You guys think that's happening?
I'm at the entrance to the Olympic Stadium in ancient Olympia, where the Olympic Games were held in antiquity. And I want to talk to you a little bit about these bases right here, because these bases are actually really special. They used to hold statues, bronze statues of the god Zeus. They were called Zanes. And the reason they were all lined up here is actually a little bit diabolical. It's because these were what cheaters had to erect if they were caught cheating. And not only did they have to pay for these statues to be erected here right at the entrance for all to see, but they also had to inscribe them with their name, their father's name, and their city's name. So hang on a second, look at this. This very last one right before the entrance, you can still see the name of the cheater, the poor guy called Dedalos. Can't really make out his father's name anyway, and then his city, Sikion, right here.
And they probably stoned you to death.
Just released, apparently by accident, the Project Aqua stuff. Did you see this?
No. What's that? Retrieving data across dimensional space-time, develop remote viewing comms and countermeasures, determine baseline for physical transport across dimensional space-time barrier, rapid response medical teams for UFO interaction events. So how did they do this accidentally? Study conscious interactions with and control of technology.
So I got this from someone in the U.S. government who's look, let me just start by saying, I don't know anything. But
allegedly.
He sent me this. The above is 100% legit. I was read into this program, but told never to tell anyone. It's now been released. As you can see, it began as a result of my old program, AATIP. I signed a document saying I would never talk about Kona Blue and similar efforts. I can't believe the AARO would have released it. Look,
Yeah.
I mean, here's what we do know, is that there's enough going on in the skies, but not just the skies, underwater, that the U.S. military has been forced to respond to it. So, like, move aircraft from one place to another because there are too many of these objects in the sky. That's actually happened. Chris Mellon just wrote a long piece about it. So it's real. The government is not controlling it. In fact, it's forcing the government, DOD, to respond. And we know that there is a real effort, and has been underway for a long time, to keep the public from knowing about it. But that's all known. That's established. I don't think any rational person would deny that. The question is, like, what is it actually? I mean, now is sort of the point where you have to ask, like, what is this?
As a private detective, there's a lot of times where I'll catch a spouse cheating. Let's say the wife will hire me. He picks her up at a house. I'll videotape her getting in his car. They go to some bar somewhere. I'll actually go in the bar. So now I need tools there. I can't just walk in on my iPhone and start shooting video. So I'll actually walk in with a key fob. The key fob has a pinhole lens. It's got a little SD card in it. I turn it on, put it on the bar, sit there, have a beer, and let the camera do all the work. I have a coffee cup. So if I go into a coffee location or a supermarket, wherever I need to be, I just take the lid off, turn it on, put the cap on, and it looks like I'm walking around with a coffee. Meantime, I'm videotaping everything.
So I figured I would cover this one because it makes me rethink everything. Okay, so this was a pine tree that was cut. This piece has been sitting on my land for a long time. Now, here's what's interesting. You see how the pine tree is no longer connected to the earth, but what's weird is the bark still grows. And that is the most remarkable thing, to think that a plant is no longer, or tree is no longer in the earth, but the bark still grows. And that, I think, is why the pine tree has one of the most beneficial properties. When you get into turpentine and the healing properties that comes from this, the sap of the pine, I think that's all interconnected. What are your thoughts?
Oh man, I didn't put a watch on today, y'all. Got my skin tan today. Russia.
The world is a stage.
Hello,
Watch
King
this.
Star. Auntie, who is this?
This is Jamie.
Jamie, I'm standing right next to Jamie. Whoever this is, I don't have time for your games.
Who's that?
Somebody acting like he was you.
I tell you what, why don't I get this one up? And when I get through, I'll make sure he don't call here no more.
Good.
Whoever it is.
Thank you.
All right?
All right, then I'll just go and
All right, then. Yeah. Yo, who this? This is Jamie. Who's this? Jamie? No, this is the new Jamie, fool. And if you know what's good for you and your family, you'll stay away from here till I can plan my getaway.
Y'all, it's always truth in plain sight. From an old episode of the Jamie Foxx show, telling you exactly what is going on before it actually potentially happened.
Allegedly.
Because you have to admit that Jamie Foxx has looked different ever since that incident happened to him. I mean, he has even joked about potentially being cloned. Again, this video is for entertainment purposes only. I'm sure that Jamie is fine. I'm sure that there is nothing to see here, right? But let's not forget about the movie he was in. Again, remember when he got out of the hospital, how different he looked. I don't know what's going on, but you have to admit that episode of the Jamie Foxx show and then all of this stuff happening recently to him, very bizarre. Wake up.
First, I want to say rest in peace to 40-year-old Quita Cole. She worked 7 days straight, took a nap, and never woke up again. I just want to tell y'all that being overworked is not a flex. Burnout is very real. I see a lot of ladies talking about, I clock in more than I hang out. I work this many doubles. I work this many days straight. Y'all, it's not a flex. I know that life is hard and I know that everything is high, but y'all, this is heartbreaking. And I can't identify with this because this was me. I worked so many doubles. But y'all, it wasn't a flex. It put anxiety, depression, your time.
So you are talking about entire communities beneath the surface and the people down there?
They have absolutely no idea. Yeah, just living their lives. The whole thing supposedly kicked off in the late 1970s when nuclear tensions were starting to spiral. Intelligence agencies, according to the story, put together a highly classified contingency plan, a backup, basically an underground survival system in case everything above ground went wrong. So they went with a practical idea. They built settlements that mirrored the world we know, streets, stores, even schools, everything designed to feel normal. But then they hit a problem, no population. That's where it turns unsettling. They allegedly took in large numbers of children from adoption systems, making sure they were young enough not to remember anything before, and that's how they filled these places. They raised them there, teaching them that the surface world had already collapsed, that this underground society was all that remained. Over time, the project was never actually shut down. It just kept going, evolving into a long-term experiment.
AI.
People don't know what Huntsville is. Huntsville is the biggest fucking deal on the planet that you have never heard of. No, it is. Now, like, Huntsville is the Silicon Valley of government national security technology and intelligence community technology and aerospace technology. Huntsville is like the hub. Like, we are number 3 on the first strike launch list. If first strike happens, 3 targets, Huntsville will be one of them. Alabama. This is Alabama dude in the deep south. We're in the top 3 first strike.
But
and
you're
it's because
outside
you
the
haven't
class
heard of
of-
us. We're in the top 3 first strike because you haven't heard of us. That's why. It's on purpose. So we need to get that out there credibly before we disclose. Otherwise, it's like Alabama, podunk, redneck motherfuckers. They don't know anti-gravity. You know what I mean? Gah! Yeah, no, dude. I started the Institute for one reason. The Institute. I started it as a public-facing persona to disclose anti-gravity technology through. Because, I told Mark this, if you stick your neck out in public, at least someone notices if your head gets chopped off. If you stick your neck out in private, fuck you. They will bury you. They will burn down your house while you're sleeping in your bed, and it won't even make the news. That's why the Institute exists.
Here's another video that will make you question the reality of those who hold power. During an interview with Swiss radio and television, the former Chancellor of Germany, Angela Merkel, suddenly looked different. Her eyes got covered by what looked like a cloudy white membrane. It couldn't have been a camera glitch because the rest of her face looked perfectly normal. Only the eyes had changed. After watching this video, you'll start wondering if stars from the music industry are even human. During the Screen Actors Guild Awards in 2022, Selena Gomez tripped, but it wasn't an ordinary misstep. You'll notice that her leg bent at an odd angle. No human leg can bend that way. For a moment, it even appeared to have shapeshifted into something that looked like a tentacle. People also relate this to how she is acting now, especially how different she looks. This video of Dr. Monsef Slaoui, a well-known vaccinologist, was giving an interview when his eyes shifted in a way that didn't seem human at all. It looked like he had translucent third eyelids that reptiles have, which is also called a nictitating membrane. The moment was brief but impossible to ignore. It made viewers wonder if he was one of those reptilian figures said to take up powerful positions and was using vaccines as a clever way to influence and control humans.
Bringing it back to what you said, Britney Spears, through multiple traumatizing occurrences that they can mind control them.
Right. So we've talked to a few remote viewers, and this parallels what you're saying with what they're saying.
Okay.
They're saying that these entities that take over people, or these projects
Yeah.
that have these underground bunkers to where they're the soul swapping, all that stuff they're doing, or they used to do in Antarctica. We had a remote viewer
Yeah.
who looked at Antarctica. Another one said that there's a lot of Reptilians that are in government.
Also, the tools that we should be entitled to take these demons, parasites, whatever, off of us are hidden under the Vatican.
Oh, this is like in tons of Netflix kid shows. These are not just shows, they're sermons. They're demonic anti-sermons. Like it's reverse discipling your kids. So that's what people need to understand. What you are seeing is the outcome of a covert strategy that was hatched in 1987 by two gay rights activists. All right, this is a book right here. It's called After the Ball. Subtitle, How America Will Conquer Its Fear and Hatred of Gays in the 90s. And bro, I'm going to read you some quotes from this thing. You are about to have the veil pulled back on the exact play that got ran on your culture for the last 50 years without anybody knowing. But this is really going to freak you out. Some of this should sound familiar. You may be going, man, why is it? They're like it's in every TV show. It's in every commercial. Why has Netflix got to stick this in like every kid show? Well, let me help you. So these guys start talking about what's going to be our media strategy. The authors boldly state early on in the book, quote, "The campaign we outline in this book, though complex, depends centrally upon," listen to this, "a program of unabashed propaganda firmly grounded in long-established principles of psychology and advertising. We need a flood of gay-related advertising presented in the least offensive fashion possible. This will get the job done." Listen. If straights can't cut off the shower, they may at least eventually get used to being wet. So they're laying this out in 87 so that it will desensitize them to the fact that this is not right, true, good, or normal. Bro, this is nuts. First, we will get our foot in the door by being as similar as possible to the straights. Then and only then, when your one little difference, orientation, is finally accepted, can you start dragging in your other peculiarities one by one. You hammer in the wedge narrow end first. As the saying goes, allow the camel's nose beneath the tent and his whole body will soon follow. So if you're asking the question, why is it that in the last 10 years, 20 years, it went from just like, normal same-sex couple on Will and Grace, and now we're doing like furries. We got trans people in kids cartoons, and like we got pride parades in Portland where like they're getting city permits to walk around naked in BDSM paraphernalia in front of children. Well, in 1987, somebody outlined a strategy. Get the camel's nose beneath the tent first, and then his whole body will soon follow. You have just had the history of American culture since 1987 prescribed to you in advance from that book.
Wow. 9/11 was not an inside job. I completely understand why that conspiracy exists. The reason 9/11 happened goes back to what you've already said is true about government. It is a show. Government is innately inefficient. Most people that work for government are not competent to be working for the government. That's why they're there. If they were competent, they'd be making more money doing something else.
Have you ever heard it yet? He says he can switch people out, and he does it right in front of them. I'll switch your wife out, and I'll put another one of your wife in her side of her body. And they're walking around. We figured out how to, turn into spirit and exchange the soul.
They still look similar, but something's off about them. And the crazy part is, once this famous figure dies, in the same year the lookalike is born. Go back 100 years and you'll find another former celebrity that looks just like them. The creepiest slip-up I've ever heard is with the Queen of England. It sounds like they messed up on that process.
That death is irreversible, and the fact that she's
As you can see.
Woo-wee! All right, family, there you have today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. You made it this far. Y'all know what to do. You know what to do. You should have already done it. But if you haven't, hit that thumbs up, y'all. It really helps the channel grow. You guys making it this far really helps the channel grow. So if you made it this far, I appreciate it. You guys gave me an hour and 15 minutes of your Sunday today. Think about that. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Now, y'all, I've been trying different things on my second channel, trying different things, going back to what I've been doing, trying some different things. I was thinking the other day when I was laying in bed, right? I was just sitting there thinking, right? And what dawned on me is you guys love these conspiracy type vibe videos. So I'm like, why am I going to get you guys watching these and then expect you guys to go watch credit card debt, right? Student loan payments, groceries are out of control. Like two completely different genres. So I was scrolling around YouTube the other day and I saw this guy that does like, 20, 30-minute videos. It's a little genre, right? And he just does one topic, like convincing UFO sightings. And his whole video is just UFO sightings and him talking about it, right? So I was thinking like maybe over here we'll do like conspiracy type things over here, like UFO sightings, or a 30-minute video on just 9/11, how people saying it was an inside job, or 30 minutes of the CIA exposing crazy things they've done, or 30 minutes of, I have clips of the missing scientists, so just a video just on that. So we'll just stick to one topic instead of over here where we do like just a bunch of different, quick topics. On my second channel, we're going to start doing one specific topic, y'all. So, the first video is going to be these missing scientists, people, news clips from it, people talking about it, people making content of it. That's what we're going to do. And I was thinking like those videos might last a long time. Like if we do, 30 minutes of 9/11 was an inside job, people exposing it, right? Like that'll live on forever. These videos we do here, they last 24, 48 hours and then they're dead, right? So those videos over there should last a very long time, last longer than 48 hours. So that's what I'm going to start doing over there, y'all. So make sure you guys go. The channel is named Segovia After Dark. Link is down below for my second channel. Go down there, subscribe, y'all. We're going to start putting that type of content out. I'm trying to figure out what I want to put over there. And I think that is a good subject, right? It's still to do with these videos. It has to do with this subject. So you guys should really like the content over there. So make sure you guys go over there and subscribe. Get out of here, y'all. This is Segovia signing out of the man cave. I'm going to see you guys on Monday for the next one. Later.